Today we're interviewing Stan Poloski of Geneva, Florida. Now to begin, Stan, tell me when and where were you born?
I was born September 20th, 1948 at Medical College of Virginia in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, and did you grow up in the Richmond area? Or?
I was 7 or 8 when I left Richmond and came to Central Florida.
Okay, and what did your parents do?
My father was an engineer with Cape Canaveral, working for Martin Company. And
Was that Martin Marietta?
yes,
Okay.
doing missile stuff out on the Cape.
Okay, so you relocated to Florida, and then you grew up in Florida?
Yes.
Did you go to high school in Florida?
Yes,
Okay. And when did you graduate from high school?
1967.
Okay, while you were in high school, were you aware of what was happening in Vietnam?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and what was your thoughts about that?
Nobody wanted to go to Vietnam. Nobody wanted. There was so much stuff on the news media that did not make it appealing to go.
Okay. What wasn't appealing to you?
Well, it's you know what the news people do to everything. They just, especially it was a hippie period where there were so many riots and so many things that, and as a young person, you're just aware of that kind of stuff. It's just going, I don't want to have anything to do with it. So.
Well, as you were graduating, did you have any fear of the draft then?
Of course, I had fear of the draft, but I went to a small college in our town called Seminole Community College, and this college had just started, maybe a year before I went to it, and they had portable units, small school. Now, of course, it's a lot different, but back then, so you have these portable things, but at, you're 18, 19 years old, you're thinking, okay, I'm in college, I'm safe. But if you didn't have passing grades, and of course, let's think about it, you're 18, 19 years old, you're having fun, you're young, you've got a lot of fun to do, and chasing girls and doing what you do. But anyway, grade slipped. Next thing you know, I got a draft notice from our local lady called Nancy Nordstrom. She was our draft lady.
Okay, so you got drafted. How far along were you in community college when you got drafted?
Oh, shoot, we're going back some years, 6, 8, 10 months.
Okay, so during the first, you got drafted within your first year at community
Yes,
college?
yeah.
Okay. And what was your reaction when you got your draft notice?
I see, well, back then you see so many people that just took off to Canada. You remember that, Canada. And my mom was definitely opposed for me being drafted, and she blew up a lot of smoke and stuff about it. But as it ended up, I just told us, let's go to the physical. So I went to the physical with 6 of my friends. They all got drafted at the same time, 6 of them. Every one of them got, what do they call it, F4 or whatever.
The 4F or
4F.
medically unfit to serve?
Right,
Yeah.
every one of them. After they took me.
And what were some of the reasons that they were rejected for, do you know?
One had a heart murmur, one had, one of the guys had only one eye. He had a glass eye, so I could understand that. But the other ones, it was just amazing. They just always found something that maybe a high blood pressure or something, but excuse me, I know one of them had a heart murmur. So anyway, they sent them home and sent me to
Where did you do your physical at?
Jacksonville.
In Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
So you went up to do your physical, and then did you have some time before you had to report?
Yeah, no, they sent me back, and of course, like I was telling you, my mom was blowing a lot of smoke about it. And so they sent me back to Jacksonville for another physical, and then sent me to a specialist in Jacksonville, and the specialist said I was fine. So,
The draft board, the service physical
Yes.
sent you there.
right.
What did they send you to the specialist for?
Some kind of back problem or something
Okay.
that my mom told him I had, and excuse me, it was just something. You know how moms are;
Mhm.
they're protecting the babies. So anyway, they sent me to a specialist. He said I was fine. The next thing I know, I was in Fort Jackson.
Okay, so then, after your physical, how long did you have before you had to report?
Oh, they took me right
Took you
away.
right away,
But I
okay.
mean, I was on the bus that afternoon.
And then you went up to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for your
Yes.
basic training?
Yes.
Okay. When you got to basic, what was your reaction to basic?
Pretty amazing because they put us in the old quarters. They have in Fort Jackson. They have at the time had new brick structures and stuff for I don't know if it was for officers or whatever. But they put us on. We call it Heartbreak Hill. It's all the old World War II structures.
The wooden barracks with?
All wood barracks, heated with, I don't know, kerosene, or I don't know, it was just cold. You know,
Now, when did you report, what time of year did you report to Fort Jackson?
it had to be in summertime,
Okay.
and yes, it was hot, but why did I say cold? I know why I say cold, because my AIT, I went to Oklahoma, and it was cold there then. Okay, so I got that a little mixed up, but no, in Fort Jackson it was hotter,
Okay.
hottest place I've ever been.
Describe the basic training process that you went through.
Well, of course they put you on a big bus and they drop you off, and you got your top sergeants and your regular sergeants, and they're screaming and yelling at you, and line up, do this, do that. Fortunately, it wasn't as bad as those poor guys that was on the same bus with us. We had to drop them off at Parris Island, and those guys had a lot of difficulties getting off the bus, and the sergeants, God, they were beating the crap out of them, honestly.
Okay, so on the bus up from Jacksonville, there were
Yeah. We had to go to Parris Island.
individuals that were drafted into the Marine Corps
No,
too? They weren't
no,
drafted?
They were,
enlistees?
they were being drafted. Instead of being drafted, they decided to join.
Okay,
Okay, so they joined the Marine Corps, so we were dropping them off at Parris Island. And, man, I knew things were getting real serious when they were grabbing guys off the bus by the shirt and just throwing them on the ground, just having them going, holy smokes. But when we got to Fort Jackson, it wasn't like that. They lined us up. I mean, we were out there with our stuff, and and finally getting us organized and doing what needed to do. But no, they were really pretty good to us. In my opinion, I thought they were good to us. As long as you behave yourself. But you always have those guys that's always gotta push the envelope. Just gotta irritate them. So they were the ones that got the attention.
and what kind of attention would they get?
Well, it's like when the sergeant says, "Okay, all right, everybody, grab your stuff and line up," and they get this guy that just doesn't do it, just kind of drags around. Well, he got the attention. So, you do what you were told, you were fine.
So how long was basic training for you?
6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Okay, and what all were you trained in? What did you describe?
It was
process?
mostly physically fit. Getting you physically fit. Of course, you did shooting, and most of it was physically fit. Most of these guys couldn't run a half a mile. By the time they were done, they could run up this place we call Heartbreak Hill. Go up the hill, circle around, they have a track up top of it, come back down, and you had to do that to be able to pass, to be able to do anything. But
How did you measure up to the physical requirements of it?
mediocre. I passed, but I wasn't the first.
So it was kind of a challenge for you?
Oh, yeah, well, you're a young guy, you think you know it all.
And while you were in basic, what was the composition of your platoon or company? Mostly draftees, enlistees, or did you have,
Well, they were all draftees.
okay, so you didn't have any reservists or National Guard guys?
Well, see, I was in the reserve because I was drafted. They just listed me as being reserve. But, no.
But you were drafted for 2 years active, though?
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
But,
and, yeah, they were all draftees. None of them wanted to be there.
Okay. Did any of the people try to do anything to get out?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
What were they trying to do?
Yeah, they had this one guy that, him and I were friends because he lived in Central Florida also. And, he acted like he was hurt. So they put him in the hospital there at Fort Jackson. And, you know, they kept telling him that he was gonna get out with, you know, with not listed as good. So anyway, he didn't care, he just wanted out. And, last thing I heard that he was gone, so.
Okay.
But it was a lesson to me to say, this is not the best way to do it. If you're gonna do this, do it. Just do it.
Do it right.
Just do it. So I did it.
Okay. So now as you were processing through basic training, when did you get your orders first?
Oh. Okay.
Okay, so how long into the basic training cycle were you when you got your orders for AIT?
30 days, they gave me 30 days off. And then I was ordered to AIT to Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Okay, so did most, where did most of your friends and comrades that you were training with, where did they end up in AIT? A lot go infantry or?
I have, honestly, some went to, because I remember when they were all sitting there, they had us lined up, and the sergeant was coming through, and he was going, 90% of you going to Vietnam, the other 10% of you are going to someplace else, maybe Germany. And I never saw another one of them since then, but we were just split all over the place.
Okay. So you got orders to go to Fort Sill for your artillery AIT. Did you get 30 days leave before you had to
Yes.
report?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you did you go home for 30 days?
Yes.
Okay. And when you reported, tell me about when reporting at Fort Sill. What was that about? And you know, describe your experiences there.
Fort Sill. I remember getting on a plane going, and they put me, the plane landed in Dallas, Texas, and I didn't know where I was going, because, of course, I've never flown before, you know, so it was quite a different experience, you know, but, anyway, they landed me in Dallas, Texas, and they took some kind of hop over to Fort Sill. I got off, and of course, there's always somebody waiting for you. And then it took me to a barracks, and another World War II barracks. So, but it was nicer than the one that was at Fort Jackson.
Okay, and describe your experience in at AIT.
AIT was wonderful. I had a great time because they lined us up, and the first sergeant said, I need to know somebody knows how to drive a stick shift. And I'm going, wait a minute, you don't ever volunteer in the Army. So I thought, yeah, I better not say anything. So finally, I just said, I can drive a stick shift. He said, okay, come with me. So they put me as a truck driver. And what was wonderful about truck driver is when breakfast is on, you go to the front of the line. You get everything done because you have to go take care of your truck, you have to load your truck, you have to make sure it's ready to go and stuff. So I drove a truck the whole time I was in the AIT.
Okay.
And it was wonderful.
Well, did you have to train in, no, you were training to be a cannoneer, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have to train on that too, or?
No, because I drove ammo trucks. I drove the ammo, I did it, so I didn't get a lot of training in the guns. So, but I was around them. I mean, I knew what to do. I knew, but most of the things like laying a gun in, that kind of stuff, they never taught me because I was always on a truck.
Okay. And would you haul the guns as well when
Oh,
you
yeah.
went out to the range?
Yeah, I'd have a truckload of ammo and the guns.
So how many truck drivers were there in your?
6.
So you had 6 in your
Yeah.
basic, in your AIT battery, so you had 6 guns?
Yes.
Okay. So how long did AIT last then for you?
8 weeks.
8 weeks?
8 weeks.
Okay, now the 8 weeks ending and, now what happened?
Now what happened was, instead of having a 30-day leave, I had to be on a plane to Vietnam in 10 days.
So you had 10 days at Fort Sill, when were you, when was this? When did you finish your AIT? What year was this?
Okay, it was what year?
Yeah,
69.
okay.
So it was, I went in June, July, I did my basic, August, September, I did my AIT. I had 10 days in October, I was in Vietnam in November.
Okay, so it was November '69.
Yes.
Out of your AIT training battery, how many guys got orders for Vietnam? You know?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna say a lot.
Okay, so you graduated from AIT, you got, did they give you any special training for Vietnam at Fort Sill before you went on your leave?
No, and I'll be frank about it. Even the sergeants back then was like, good luck, is what they were saying, because they just needed bodies over there.
Did, in training, either in basic or AIT, did any of your training cadre, were they Vietnam veterans?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just about every one of them had been there, and that's why they were saying, good luck.
Okay. Did they give you any practical hints while you were training?
A lot of them were real good about, and they had training where they had some fake-looking Vietnamese villages and guys running around in black pajamas and stuff like that. But you know as well as I do, it was on-the-job training.
So you, did they have that at Fort Sill for you, the fake villages?
Yes,
And,
yeah,
so did you have to do that as part of your regular AIT, or did you do that
No, I
as,
think it was just, they wanted to kind of help you
okay,
realize what you were going into.
after AIT, before you got your leave, you had to go
Yeah.
through that, okay.
Mhm.
And that consisted of what, just,
It's pretty much as you just go into, and they got these guys jumping around in trees and acting like a bunch of Vietnamese, people in black pajamas with the hats they wear and stuff like that. But, I mean, it was informative, but believe me, on-the-job training is what really.
you found it wasn't basically really realistic when
Not
you got
where I
there.
was.
Okay. Okay, so you went home, and what was your family's reaction to your being sent to Vietnam?
Of course, my mother was just beside herself about it. My father, he just never really said much about it. But I only had 10 days, so I was gone pretty quick.
Was your father a veteran? Was he ever into
Yeah, he
service?
was in the Army in World War II.
Okay. Did he give you any
No,
hints or anything? No?
No.
Just,
he was a typist,
okay.
so he had no idea.
Just say good luck, huh?
Well, I didn't even say that,
Okay.
so he was a good man. So
Okay, now you got to, how did you get to Vietnam? Well, you left, you went home for 10 days, and
Right.
then what happened?
Flew out of Orlando, flew into Dallas, flew into San Diego? No,
San Francisco,
No.
maybe?
flew into Oakland, San Francisco, then took
What-
a helicopter over to Oakland.
Went through the Oakland replacement depot?
Yes,
Me too.
yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Wonderful place. Yeah, and then the next thing I know, I'm on a plane gone.
Okay, how long did you have to wait in Oakland?
2 days, maybe 2 days.
Because that was a pretty open base, wasn't it? It's pretty.
You know, when you come from a small little town where I come from at the time, a little Sanford town. Sanford is the name of the town I was living in. We had maybe 20,000 people in the town. When you fly into a place like San Francisco, Oakland area, and you see all these ships, and well, you know, if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. There's just big, massive. You go, what in the world? It was just eye-opening.
Kind of overwhelming, huh?
Yeah, just wow.
So what was the process of their selecting you to go? You got to Oakland, how did you know when you were gonna go?
Oh, they had orders on me. I mean, I was just waiting. I mean, I was in got ahead of barracks, but I wasn't there long. I mean, a day, maybe two, and boom, I was on a plane gone.
Okay, you went, got on an airplane, and do you remember the route that you
Oh,
flew
yeah.
going over?
Yeah,
Okay.
flew into Hawaii. Wait a minute. Maybe flew into Okinawa first. I know flew into Okinawa, flew in Hawaii.
Probably Hawaii, then Okinawa.
Okay,
Yeah.
could be. And of course, when we flew into Hawaii, you were allowed to get off the plane, but you couldn't. You had an area you had to stay in. Okay. And Okinawa, same way. Then after Okinawa, I think we flew right straight into Benoit.
Okay, so you went down Benoit around Saigon. And you got off the
Yeah.
plane, and what was your first impression of Vietnam when you got off the plane?
Well, I thought when I looked at the airport, I'm going. I mean, at that time, the airport was just nothing but a bunch of folding chairs. I mean, it was not like, what do you want to say? It was just like lean-tos around. It wasn't like a real airport. I mean, when you got off the plane, of course, you had to go down steps to get off the plane. But then you walk into the airport, and there's not a real waiting area there. It's just like somebody put up a tent or something, you know, and that's what it was. But when I left country, it was different, you know. But
Okay, so you went into Benoit, then how were you processed?
no, they put me on a truck. I went through a lot of villages. They just drove us on the road to a lot of villages. And the next thing I know, I'm at Camp Evans. I don't really, you know, I don't know what the hell it was.
Okay, when did you know you were being assigned to the 101st?
When I got there,
Okay, when you got there.
yeah.
Did you know before you went to Vietnam? You didn't have orders to
No.
a particular
I
unit?
had no
Okay.
idea, no.
So you got into Benoit, and then you got assigned to what unit?
I was assigned to the B 2nd of the 319th.
Okay.
And at the time, they were in a rear area. And it was so funny. The first fire mission was, I was assigned to gun number 6.
Okay, so you were assigned to B Battery, 2nd Battalion, 319th Artillery,
That's
which
correct.
was a part of the 101st Airborne Division.
That's correct.
Okay. So, do you know where they were when you joined them?
I'm guessing they were outside Camp Evans or in that area because
Okay.
they were out being in a rear area, they were there, And when I got there, it was raining like crazy, it was muddy, you know, it's just, but anyway, they told me, said, drag your stuff over here, this is where you belong, this is your gun captain, he's your boss.
So you got there probably, what, the middle to the end of November?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you went up to I-Corps, to Camp Evans, you're assigned to the battery.
I wasn't there 15 minutes, we had a fire mission.
Okay.
And I'm going, holy crap, fire mission, you know. And the gun captain gave me the radio, said, here, you're new, take the radio. Tell me what's going on. I'm going, huh? I'm a truck driver. So anyway, he said, just tell me the coordinates, whatever they tell you, just tell. And we had a fire mission. We shot almost 15 hours. Round after round after round after round.
So they would, backtrack, the Bravo Battery, second of the 319th, that was a 105 howitzer.
That's one of those. Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had the air mobile type, you didn't have the split trail?
No, we had the air mobile.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a 105 howitzer, it shot 105 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
You got there, and 15 minutes after you got that, now what gun section did you say you were assigned
Number
to?
6.
So you got the number 6 gun, and 15 minutes later, you had a fire mission.
Fire mission. They handed me the radio. Just tell me the coordinates.
So they would, you were responsible for getting the range and deflection from the quadrant, the deflection from FDC?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Which I wasn't used to doing because I'd been a truck driver. But I did it and we got it. Anyway, we shot for 10, 12 hours. We shot $1 million worth of rounds and killed a snake.
And killed a what?
A snake.
Okay.
It was a constrictor type snake because they went out that next morning to see what it was, and it was a big constrictor. Because you'd kill it and it kept moving because we had sensors on the ground. And the sensors would pick up more movement, so we'd shoot some more. And it just kept.
Okay, so you're firing from data that were coming, that's coming in from fixed sensors, huh?
Sensors on the ground,
And
yeah.
it was a big snake. Okay. But it just want to ask you, did your battery have any trucks assigned to it?
No, because we were air mobile.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, so did you wonder, what am I doing here
Yeah.
as a truck driver?
Well, and you get thrown into a fire mission. I didn't even have my gear put away. I mean, just, you know, so.
So what was your reception to the, to the gun and to the battery?
Oh, you're like family. Once you're there and you get to know everybody, you're like family.
How many people were in your gun section?
I'm gonna say 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 6. We're all family.
Okay. So you stayed at, you got there in November, end of November. How long did you stay around Camp Evans?
3, 4 days.
And then what?
Air mode was out to on top of a mountain. I don't know what the name of it was, but
Describe how the battery would move.
they bring in some shit hooks, or pardon me,
Chinook.
We call them shit hooks, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And we'd have ammo netted in a big net, and it'd be hooked to the gun, and so the gun would go up, and the ammo would go up. We would be in the Chinook, and so it
So
would
you
actually
get on a helicopter and then they would
Hook us up.
exteriorly hook up
hook up everything. We
a
take
line that had the howitzer as well as your
Ammo.
basic load of ammo or
Yes.
whatever it was. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then what would happen?
Well, we take us to wherever the landing zone would be, whichever fire base that they were setting up. And this was, like I say, it's pretty new to me, so I was new in country. They flew us in, put us down on top of this mountain, and it was, I was saying, it was raining like crazy, and it seemed like it was cold, if I remember. But anyway, we got socked in so hard, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face.
Because of fog?
Fog. Yeah. And once they put us in, then that night we got socked in. We couldn't get any more ammo in, couldn't get any food, couldn't get anything for like 2-3 weeks. And the Arvins would come in off a trail. We'd have to give them our food because they needed food, so we give them our food. But here I am, new in country, I'm on top of this mountain in the middle of nowhere, totally scared to death, know what the hell to do.
So what would you have to do when they airlifted your gun and the whole battery on there? What kind of work would you have to do?
We have to set the guns up. We take ammo, take the ammo out of the boxes, stack them up in as dry a place as you could. We would take our ponchos, actually, wrap the ammo so it wouldn't get wet. But then we take the empty ammo boxes, fill them full of dirt, and to make culverts and stuff like that to cover the ammo plus to cover us.
Okay.
that's
So
what we
you'd
do.
basically build field fortifications with the empty ammo
With the
boxes and
yes.
sandbags and...
How many sandbags? Very few sandbags where we were. We did the ammo boxes because it's so much quicker. You fill it full of dirt, the handle on each side, boom.
Okay, how many rounds would come in an ammo box?
Two.
Okay, you would, was that constant work then for you to always
Until you
improve
got it fortified, your gun laid in, everything set, and your ammo protected, and you got a place to get out of the rain or something. You know, but it was always something to do, always.
Did you have to do any, prepare any defensive positions, or?
Well, that's pretty much what we're doing anyway, is defensive, you know. But as far as, you know, we always had infantry around the fire base, always.
So the infantry would secure the fire base and then you would
Yeah.
prepare that one?
Yeah. They loved us. They didn't, but they did.
Okay, when you were socked in, did you have many fire missions or?
Well, it had fire missions, but I mean, it got to the point where we were running out of ammo and we couldn't get resupplied. Because helicopters, we could hear them over top of us, but they couldn't see to drop us any equipment, ammo, food, anything. So it got down to, we were down to about our last 20 rounds.
Okay, and then you did get resupplied?
And actually cleared. I mean, it was like the good Lord opened up a hole and the helicopters started dropping it in. I mean,
Okay.
it was wonderful.
Okay, you stayed on that mountaintop, that LZ for that fire base for what?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, and then where did you go?
We moved to another fire base. Close to that, we weren't in the air 30 minutes, and we were down to another. I don't remember the names of the fire bases and stuff, but
And you would move, why? Why would you have to move?
I don't know.
Would you have to move because the infantry was operating in an area that you had to support them?
Our whole deal was to
fires?
support the infantry.
Okay.
And when we moved to Firebase Ripcord, I thought it was the same thing until we found out once we were there why we were there. Because they had dropped sensors in the Ashaw Valley, and we were shooting the shit out of them. Every time a truck would move, we just do about 3 or 4 volley rounds, and we were knocking out their supply route.
Okay.
So we knew.
So you kept moving to support the infantry?
Yes.
Any memorable things happen before Ripcord, or about how many times did you move?
We moved 3 times before we got to Ripcord. And never to a rear area, always out on another mountain.
Always on another mountain so you could support infantry operations around the area?
Yeah.
Okay, then, when did you move into Ripcord?
I guess it was March of, I don't know, I was on, when they first moved into Ripcord, I was there, so.
Okay, so your battery was one of the first
We were,
units to.
we
move
were there
in?
before the 155 showed up.
Okay,
We got there, and matter of fact, the 155 didn't show up till, it seemed to me like a month later. But, we had a nice fire base there, it was nice. Underground kitchen.
underground kitchen, well,
Oh, yeah.
explain it, okay, you moved into Ripcord, what was there when you moved in?
Nothing.
So
I'm
you-
sure there was some infantry people there, but when we got there, there was nothing there. Obviously it was an already used fire base. It was full of trash.
From who
The
occupied
Marines.
it before, the Marines occupied it before?
Well, that's who they blame the trash on, I don't know for a fact, but that's what they said. I mean, we took out nets and nets full of brass shells. When I was on Ripcord, we didn't have any brass shells, they were wrapped steel. You couldn't, then they went to paper. I don't know if you remember that, but they did, they went to a paper casing. But
For 105?
Yeah. Had paper casings, we had wrapped steel. But when I first was in training, we had brass casings. But they did away with brass because it was too expensive. And the wrapped steel did the same thing, and it was a lot cheaper. But the Marines had left a ton of brass casings. I wish I had one today. But we netted them all up. I mean, we dug and dug and dug and dug these things out and put them in nets, and they took them back to the rear area. And I'm sure they, of course, reclaimed them sometime.
Well, at the time that you went into Ripcord, what was your job in the gun section?
I loaded a gun. Of course, everybody did everything. I wasn't the head gunner, and I wasn't the guy who pulled a lanyard. I really liked loading rounds. Because it took a special finesse to load rounds on an artillery piece that would stand up straight. Because if you're not low like this, you just kind of throw it in. With something like this, you gotta punch it in.
So when they're shooting high angle, it's a lot different.
It's a
than
little, well,
the
you're
other-
taking the whole weight of the round, and you gotta force it in there.
And how much would that weigh?
30 pounds, 40 pounds, I guess, I don't know, but, God, that's 50 years ago. It was heavy.
Okay, so you load it, and Ripcord was, so you first went to Ripcord, then you had to follow the whole scenario of digging in and
Oh yeah,
Preparing
building parapets
and
and,
building your,
yeah.
fortifying your gun positions and.
Well, fortunately, the Army is real good about bringing engineers with bulldozers in. Made us a nice landing, or a strip there to land helicopters. But helicopters had to land down here, we had to hump all the rounds, all the ammunition up a hill. But they gave us a mule, which, I don't know if you remember what a mule was. So we could do that. But you always had these guys that say, oh, I can carry, they carry 4 or 5 rounds, and they'd beat themselves up doing it. But they did. But, that was before they built the underground, ammo dump. This was when we were first there. So all the ammo was landed down on the landing strip, and we had to hump it up by hand. Or, we put some on the mule. Most of us just carried 2 rounds on our shoulders, so up until we loaded the bins full of.
So you would open the boxes when it was, when the ammo came on the landing pad, and then
Right.
you would,
Load
Just
them,
take
take them out of their, they have a round tube they were in. We take them out.
they'd
of the
be
tube,
like a fiber, a black
fiber, yeah,
fiber tube.
like a
yeah.
cardboard type thing.
Was that water resistant?
Well, yeah, it looked like it had tar on them,
Yeah,
or something like that, yeah.
So you would just take those up, or would you take them out of their tubes? And
We take them out, we take them in the tubes, but as soon as we got them up up top, we took them out of the
Okay.
tubes and stacked them, because we didn't have time to worry about taking them out of the tubes when we had a fire mission. Because when you're doing artillery, they've got 7 different charges in a round. So whenever you're doing a fire mission, it might be charge 1, it might be charge 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever charge, you've got to open the casing, pull the charges out you're not going to use, and close it up and then load it.
What would you do with the charges that you wouldn't be using?
We burn it for heat. Pretty much.
They burn quick, right?
Well, they did, but they heat food. They do all kinds of stuff. So, just don't stomp on it.
Okay, so, and now at Ripcord, as the fire base is
Building.
improving and
Yeah.
building, what kind of fire missions were you getting?
All of our
Did you
fire
know?
missions were into the Ashaw Valley. Just about. Because we knew that they had sensors that they would go down to Ashaw Valley and drop sensors in, and these sensors were a computer somehow back then. That would go to Thailand, they would pick up that stuff, and they would send us back coordinates of there was movement or whatever, and we'd start shooting. And there was one night we knocked out 13 trucks full of ammo. I mean, every day we would.
How did you know you knocked the trucks out?
Because they would send a recon in afterwards
Okay,
and let us know what we
You
did.
would get the
Yeah.
results of the fire mission,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, every day, about how many rounds would you shoot?
We would do, it would not be unusual for us to do 3-4 round volleys at a time. And when I say a volley, I mean they want 3 rounds out in less than 10 seconds.
Mhm.
And that's 6 guns, that's 18 rounds. They want boom, 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 boom. And you put 18 rounds in an area, you know, as big as a football field, you're gonna hurt somebody. So, yeah, we tore up a lot of them.
About, do you know how many rounds you'd shoot a day or a week or?
Well, no, we get fire missions all night long. And sometimes we wouldn't be shooting in the Ashaw Valley, we'd be shooting to support some infantry guys, wherever. Or we'd be shooting to support another fire base, which we've done before over there. The fire bases, the way they built it, each fire base would support the rest of the fire bases. So you supported each
So
other.
you would mutually supportive,
Yes,
because a 105 could shoot probably about 11,000 meters maybe?
7 miles,
Yeah,
accurately.
yeah.
And the
Depending if
155
you're going uphill or downhill.
Well, if it's going this way.
Yeah.
We shot more rounds straight up than we shot anything else.
Well, was that was because of the hilly terrain that you were operating?
Well, we were
on,
shooting
wasn't it?
we were coming up and coming down,
Yeah.
because you're right, there was a lot of hills.
Yeah,
But most of the rounds we shot went into the Ashaw Valley.
okay. Okay, and what kind of reaction did the enemy have to your shooting?
Very little until we started getting hit. I'm sure they got a little upset about it when we were knocking their supply lines out, because we were hurting them bad. I know we were.
Then when did you start getting hit? When did they start?
Don't remember the exact date, but I guess it was May or June or something like that. We started getting some. But the real thing that we've noticed was it wasn't so much that we got hit with anything, but we noticed that down at the bottom of the hill we had concertina wire. And every day they would do, the infantry guys would go down and do a patrol around the perimeters and stuff. All of a sudden they were starting to notice these pipe bombs. They were in the concertina wire. And they were trying to hide them. And all of a sudden they discovered them, they were there. Once they discovered them, that's when the action started really picking up, because I guess the enemy knew, hey, they already know we're here, that's
So the enemy
well, that's
was
what I'm
trying-
guessing.
Kind of, they were trying to put these things to take the wire out at some
Yeah,
future time.
they wanted to
and we
overrun
found
us, is
it,
what
yeah.
they wanted to overrun us.
And then you start getting a lot of indirect fire, or what happened?
Actually, it was very quiet, but they caught this one enemy guy down there. And I don't know if I ought to say this or not. Yeah, turn the camera off for a second.
Okay.
The only reason I'm saying this is
Yeah. Okay, so after, I guess summarize, when you first went to Ripcord, you were, obviously had to prepare the fire base and,
Mhm.
a lot of the work, and you were doing a lot of, I guess I'll call it interdicting fire into the Ashaw Valley,
Oh, yes,
which was a main supply route, you
yes.
know, for them, and then the enemy start reacting to your presence, so.
Yeah, they didn't like us there.
And what kind of enemy response were you getting?
Well, the most of the response we were getting was when we started noticing some of those pipe bombs
Mhm.
coming in from trying to blow the concertina wire up. So, and they discovered, the infantry guys that were there discovered 4 or 5 of them, which is a sign that they're ready to blow the wire
Mm-hmm.
and just overrun the base. So that's when they actually brought in more infantry. They brought in more mortars, and they started really digging in around the perimeter of the mountain. So, I mean, they brought in a bunch of people. We didn't have that many until they started noticing this stuff.
When did they bring in the 155 battery?
155 battery came in shortly after they put the underground kitchen in.
Okay.
See, we had, every day, the Hueys would bring in ice, and they would bring in the things of food for us. And we had fried chicken, we ate really good there until they put the underground kitchen in, which was really nice. Then the 155s moved in, and they moved in, I don't know if you want to say north of the kitchen, but
And your battery was where in reference to the
we were
kitchen?
right on top of the mountain. Okay, you see where the radar thing was? We're right there with it.
Okay.
Okay. The radar was a little higher than us, but we were right there with it. Then we were all around it, so. And we had 6 guns, and of course, so did the 155s. But, shoot, I remember helping the 155 guys. You get together on the mountain, but they didn't like us 105s. They thought we were wicked.
Yeah, there's always some rivalry.
Of course, that's okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So then then 155s, once they discovered the apparent threat to the wire, that the ripcord was, the landing zone was reinforced, and what was the enemy's reaction? What kind of, were you getting rocketed and mortared?
Actually, we weren't getting anything, and then all of a sudden, boom, they started shooting. Started shooting RPGs. They were just coming off it everywhere, and not just in one section, all the way around the mountain. So we were getting hit from all sides, and a lot of guys just weren't prepared for that kind of stuff. They just, what is this? We're going, duck. That's what you do. You get down, man. And their RPGs were not, I'm gonna say they were just not that accurate. I mean, it's like shooting a 45 and hoping you hit something. You know, sometimes they just went here and they went over here, but every now and then.
But if they were aiming it at the fire base, it was gonna land on the fire base
Someplace, sometimes they just went over, you know, just.
I might aim it at you and hit somebody else.
Yeah, well, yeah,
but,
that's right,
At least
yeah.
it's gonna go there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so a lot of did the battery take any RPG rounds in
Oh,
the
yeah.
battery perimeter?
Yes, we took in quite a few of them. In fact, I was laying in an ammo bunker, a whole bunch of 105 rounds, just laying in there, and all of a sudden, RPG comes in. I was listening to my radio, and boom, one hit really close to me. Got shrapnel in my radio. I got nicked a little bit, no big deal.
Now, when you say a radio, is this your personal radio?
Yeah,
Or,
uh-huh.
okay, what were you listening to, a Armed
The
Forces
old
channel?
Armed Forces
Okay.
channel, right.
Okay.
But, I even brought the radio with me, but it's still got a piece of shrapnel left in it.
Does it still work?
If I put some batteries in it.
Oh,
I'm
okay, I
sure.
mean, it continued working after it got
Yeah,
hit.
it's just got shrapnel in a couple
Okay.
places where it got hit. But that's what I was doing, just sitting in there smoking cigarettes. And an ammo bunker, doesn't sound smart, but,
Yeah,
you know, those rounds are pretty safe, as long as you didn't put fire to them anyway.
right, it's just, yeah.
We know how to
As
handle it.
long as the powder didn't get ignited, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the RPGs and, that was basically it?
That's pretty much
Did
it.
the battery have any casualties because of that?
Yeah, as you wanna call it, a siege went on, yes.
Okay,
You know, I had I think he was a lieutenant or a captain, he was a black guy, was standing right behind me, and I saw this RPG coming. I said, RPG, duck! I ducked and he didn't.
ooh, was he in the battery or?
Yeah,
was it-
yeah, he was a captain or lieutenant or something, I don't know,
Okay.
too bad.
So that kept up, was the intensity increasing or did it kind of level off?
It really wasn't, I mean, it seemed like they were more after the helicopters. And, I mean, even the medevacs that would come, they were shooting the medevacs down left and right. At nighttime, the Cobra gunships would come in and they would just shoot. They were so neat too, because the tracer rounds on those, you just see them just, you know, they were just wonderful, wonderful the way they were doing it. But it just didn't seem like it was all that intense for us. I mean, we were getting rounds, there's no doubt about it, we were getting hit some stuff. But then we had that one Chinook got hit down into our underground ammo bunker. That kind of put us out of business.
Yeah, I understand the Chinook was shot down
Yes.
and it crashed in the ammo bunker and it essentially wiped out your battery, didn't it?
Well, no, it didn't, but it wiped out our ammo.
Okay.
I mean, we had some ammo, but, and you gotta understand, I was Spec 4. I wasn't an officer and I didn't know what was going on. But I think that the other people in the rear area knew something big was happening here. You know, so, we only had so much ammo. I mean, even in our bunkers, I mean, we had so much ammo, that was it, so, I don't know.
So the Chinook crashed and you said it didn't, because after the Chinook crashed, the 105s, they basically weren't firing anymore, were they?
No, I think we were getting to the point where we were getting ordered off, because
Okay.
they were gonna come in and they said they were gonna do a B-52 strike and just blow the top of the mountain off, is what they were gonna do. So, I just don't believe, I can't remember completely, because remember, that's a long time ago.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I just don't think we left right away when the Chinook fell. You know, but it did kind of hurt us when our ammo bunker was covered with Chinook, you know. I think the worst thing that happened to us was our underground kitchen. We had a underground kitchen, and we had fresh eggs and stuff in the morning, stuff like that. An RPG came in the door of the kitchen and hit our cook. And so they had to close the kitchen down. We had nothing to eat but sea rations after that.
When was that relative to the Chinook crashing? Was that,
God, it had to be right about the same time frame, because we're not talking about a whole lot of days. I mean, had to, you know,
Okay,
like I say, I'm still thinking back 50 years.
Yeah. okay. So the Chinook crashed, it wiped out most of your ammunition.
Yes,
Were the guns still operative?
yes, and in fact, I don't remember the Chinook blowing up the ammo dump. The Chinook just crashed into it.
Okay.
So
Where were you in relationship to the Chinook going down?
I was right, if you saw a picture of where it is,
Mm-hmm.
my gun was right behind the tail end of the Chinook.
Okay. Okay. Did the battery suffer many casualties as a result of that crash?
No. In fact, the only casualties that I can remember that I had was the one lieutenant or whatever, and I don't remember anybody else being killed, maybe wounded, but not killed.
Was the battery commander killed there?
I don't think so.
Do you know who the battery commander was?
Don't remember.
Okay. I thought Captain Kelso commanded you guys?
Don't know.
I'm not sure.
You know,
He was
a lot of the
football
officers
player,
just
yeah.
didn't mix with the,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they just yelled orders.
You were a gun, you were a gun bunny, that's right, yeah. You
Right.
were just a gun bunny,
Yeah,
yeah, okay. So how long after the shed, now, when they extracted you guys, did they take the, 105s out with you?
no. In fact, they landed a Chinook on the lower pad, said, grab what you can and get the hell off, because there's a B-52 on the way with a 10,000-pound bomb to blow the top off.
This was when the whole, Firebase was evacuated?
Yes,
Okay, so if the 105s didn't have any ammo to shoot, what did you guys do then?
We had ammo,
Okay,
okay, but we lost our ammo dump,
okay,
okay? But we still had ammo. So, but we had nothing to shoot at because we had no targets. I mean, you gotta have somebody to call in a fire mission. And nobody was calling a fire mission. We had ammo, but we didn't have ammo like we had in the ammo dump.
okay,
Okay, so, but we had like ammo bunkers. Each gun
right,
had an ammo bunker that probably had 50, 60 rounds in it, easy. Then we had another ammo bunker that we put in like white phosphorus and special rounds like bumblebees and
a bumblebee, what's a bumblebee?
bumblebee. The bumblebee round
Was
was a round that we would shoot, and it had a fuse on it. And when it got to about 10 feet off the ground, maybe 20 feet off the ground, it would explode. And when it did, it would drop like 20 grenades
Okay,
to the ground, and then they just blow every damn thing up.
okay, so you had basically cluster bombs coming out.
Yeah, we call them bumblebees.
Yeah.
Then we had the little flechette rounds, which was pretty neat. Had little arrows in
Yeah,
them.
we called those are called the beehive, weren't they? Or that's what we call them.
Yeah,
beehive,
yeah, the beehive. I got one of them in my hat down in my truck. I
Oh,
had
yeah?
two of them that I put in my hat. And I only have one, I lost one of them, but I do have one of the flechettes. But we use those and
Yeah,
stick them together.
those are basically for self-defense.
Well, yeah, that's what you call when you're getting overrun.
Okay, I'm gonna cut off now.
Okay.
I gotta rewind it now. Okay. Okay, so after the Chinook crashed, basically, how long did you remain on Ripcord?
It seemed like we were still there a week or so. Like I say, I'm going back a lot of years. But we didn't leave right away. I mean, it was almost like it was ordered for us to get the heck out of there.
Okay, so after the Chinook crashed, you weren't shooting that much because the guns were still operative?
Guns were still operative. but we lost our underground ammo bunker, but we still had ammo, and we were still functional. It's just, it seems to me, I remember when they took the Chinook off, they came in and took
The
it.
Chinook that crashed, they
Yeah, they took it
extracted it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't long after that when they just said they were closing the base. They were closing it.
Okay. So they're going to base it. Now, how did you go about getting out then?
They landed a Chinook on the lower pad and told us, I mean, they just come by and just go, grab your shit, you're leaving right now. Get on that Chinook. You're going right now.
Okay.
And so I grabbed my radio, and that's all I grabbed. That's all I had a chance to get.
Now your radio, you're talking again your personal radio,
Yes,
not a Prick 25
Right,
or anything.
right,
Okay.
right. My personal radio.
So you went and did all your battery go on the same Chinook or?
Yes, everybody just loaded on it.
Okay. And then where did you go from there?
We went to Camp Evans.
Back to Camp Evans. Now you didn't bring the 105s
No.
with you, no?
No, because once we got back to Camp Evans, our unit was displaced because we had no guns anymore.
So you didn't have any guns, and so you were basically broken up and
Yeah.
sent other places? Or?
Yes, I went to the 82nd Airborne, down around Saigon, down in that area.
Okay. And what unit did you join there?
Do you know, I don't know, but it was the 82nd Airborne.
Was it a 105
Oh,
artillery
yeah,
unit?
it was an artillery unit, same thing, it's just,
Mhm.
but it was 82nd Airborne.
So you went, how long did it take from when you left Ripcord, you got to Camp Evans, and then you went to the 82nd, which was, well, that they were
Down south.
If they were down in Saigon, they were like in the 3-quarter area,
Yes,
right? So you went from I Corps to 3-quarter area.
Yes,
How long did it take you to get down there?
less than a week. Less than a week. I remember that they sent me to Fubai, and they had some barracks there, and I think I stayed there a day, and I was gone down to 82nd.
Where did some of the other
I never saw you.
mates that you had, you were the only one that went to that particular battery?
Yes. I never saw anybody else from my old unit at all, ever since then.
And as far as you know, they were all parceled out to other
Marshalled out or
units?
went home or whatever,
Okay.
but it wasn't like 5 of us went to 82nd Airborne. I went to this one unit by myself.
Okay. And that was it.
That was it. Well, I had another 5 months, 6 months.
So you had about 5 or 6 months left in country, and did you move a lot? Was the routine basically the same thing that you had with the 101st?
A lot less action. I mean, a lot less action. And it wasn't mountainous, so everything was shooting straight out. But very rarely did we have fire mission, where I went. There was times we went into, it seems like Long Bend.
Okay.
I went into a Aussie base down there, which was neat.
An Australian base?
Yes, we were pretty free to run the roads there during the daytime. So we would take a deuce and a half in the water with a water trailer and go to the Aussie camp and get water. And when the Aussie camps were neat because they had full liquor places. I mean, you could buy a bottle of Jack Daniels. Where we can 101st Airborne. If you got a beer, you were lucky. No liquor, never. But down there, it was different. Especially when we went to the Aussie bases because they had a lot of and all name brand stuff. And it was pretty neat. And they loved Americans. They loved them. And they treated me a steak dinner and all the liquor I could drink.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So you were, did your battery move a lot, when you were in the south,
Twice.
or just twice, huh?
Yes.
And did they move, did you have to create a new fire base, or did they go to an existing one replacing
No,
somebody
they
else?
created new fire bases, but the last fire base I was at was in the middle of a cemetery.
Mhm.
They just set up in the middle of a cemetery. And I would imagine that had to irritate the locals pretty much. Because, I mean, they brought bulldozers in to pile up berms around the fireplace. And cemetery, that had to irritate the locals pretty much. Wasn't very smart in my opinion, but.
And what were you doing on the gun with the 82nd? The same
Same thing.
Just a
You know,
loader?
Pretty much. I don't even remember having a fire mission with them.
Mhm.
The only thing was to shoot. Every time we laid a gun in, they usually had a fire mission to shoot like a white phosphorus round to make sure that accuracy was there for a forward observer.
Yeah, they would register the
Yes,
the gun, yeah.
And that's about the only thing I remember shooting.
Oh, really? Okay, so it was very, very inactive
Not-
from an enemy standpoint, that was.
Yeah, the enemy was up Nicor.
Okay, you left them there, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now, with your time with the 82nd, or with the 101st and the 82nd, you know, there's a lot of people, sometimes report a lot of racial tension, especially around that time in Vietnam.
I didn't see any of it.
Okay.
I didn't see any of it. And, you know, maybe I'm just a dumb old
Well, no,
bug.
it's not unusual. Basically, you know, most of the reports, you know, that we got when they talk about that is basically more rear area stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
guys,
that could
got
be.
guys in the rear. And
Out there in the
things
field?
like
No,
that, but
you
in
didn't
the
have any
field.
of that.
How about drug use in the field?
Oh, a lot of these, especially the black guys, like their cocaine, hash, marijuana. And they weren't the only ones, a lot of white guys did too. But you could buy a vial of cocaine for a pack of cigarettes.
And they use it out in the field?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that. Did I? No. I said, just one boy's gonna go home. And I'm gonna be smart enough to keep my head on straight so that ain't no somebody gonna come in there and take me out.
So, was it more prevalent in the south where you were as opposed to up at the 101st? Because basically in the 101st, you said you're never really in the rear area, were you?
Oh, yeah, well, we got a rear area for like doctor's appointments and dentist
Okay.
appointments and things like that. In fact, there was one time that I went into, I'd say Benoit, and I was carrying my M16 and I got approached by a bunch of locals on a motorcycle. They all surrounded me. And so I didn't lock and load. I thought they were gonna kill me. But anyway, they backed off as soon as I, you know, they were just trying to see what they could get. But most of the time I stayed out in the field. Buying marijuana was nothing over there. In fact, you go to the rear area, you take an ammo can, they will fill it with already rolled marijuana cigarettes for a couple packs of cools. Yeah. And these guys smoked them all the time. You know, it was common to see that, even
Okay.
in 101st Airborne. Liquor, you didn't see any liquor in 101st Airborne. You would, every now and then, they'd allow you to have some beer, but very rarely. No alcohol, but you can have all the marijuana you want. You know, so that makes sense to me. In the 82nd, any kind of drugs you wanted, and these guys, a lot of them were doing a lot of it because they had nothing else to do. They weren't fearing for their life because they weren't being hit by any means. They were just
Okay.
killing time.
Okay, so with the 82nd, you did your last, what, 4 or 5 months?
Yes.
And what was the process of going home then?
Well, the process of going home was I extended, because at that time President Nixon did a deal that if you extend for 30 days in country in Vietnam, you could come home and get out of the service, especially if you were drafted. Okay, not if you were signed in the military, but as a draftee, if you extend in country for 30 days, you could go home and what do you call it, drum out or something like that. So I did that. Because down at 82nd Airborne, it was easy duty compared to 101st Airborne. And I'll have to say this, I was proud to be in 101st Airborne, even though I was drafted, because that's one hell of an outfit. I'm not going to say anything bad about the 82nd. They couldn't hold a candle on first. Not a candle. But anyway, when we got to Christmas of that year, it would have been 70. President Nixon, as a Christmas present, dropped the 30 days. So I was supposed to go to a USO show to see, what's his name, Bob, whatever.
Bob Hope?
Yeah, and because I was old timer in country, so I had the option to go. But on December 24th, I was told to pack my bags. And I was going, 25th, I was going to go see Bob Hope. So I packed my bags, started moving out. I was back home December the 31st. I flew into Fort Dix, freezing ass cold, with no clothes. I flew in my fatigues.
Did you fly direct to?
No.
I mean, obviously not direct, but was that your first basic stop in the States at
No.
Fort Dix?
We flew from I want to make sure I get this right. From Long Bend, we flew to Japan. Flew from Japan to Alaska, Juneau, and flew from all the way from Juneau all the way to Fort Dix.
Okay, Fort Dix.
And this is December 31st, which is New Year's Eve. We got in Fort Dix about 4:30. Everybody's off for New Year's Eve. Most of your people were they weren't military people. They were private individuals working for the military doing paperwork.
Civilian employees, huh?
Fortunately, there was this one lady that was still there, and she processed the paperwork so that I could get a plane ticket out of Philly to Atlanta. But that's as far as I could go, because they didn't have another flight from Atlanta to Orlando. And I was at the airport in Philly, and I was sitting there with this ticket going, well, I'm going to at least get to Atlanta where it's a little warmer, because it was freezing cold. I didn't have any clothes. And anyway, I heard over the intercom, Eastern flight so-and-so, non-stop to Orlando, leaving in 10 minutes. I'm going, what? So I ran down to the ramp, and I said, you got any room on the plane? He said, yeah, lots of room. I said, well, I got to get on it. I got this Continental ticket. They're going, no. You got to go back to Continental and cancel the ticket, and then you can come back and get it. I said, I can't do that in 10 minutes. So we'll hold the plane for me. So I got home.
Great.
New Year's Eve.
So, and that was, now what did you have to do after that in the service?
I had just had to go to Fort Bragg and get a physical and be done with it.
Okay, so when did you have to go to Fort
10
Bragg?
days.
10 days. So you had about 10 days home, and then
Yeah.
you went to Fort Bragg, and then you were processed out of the service?
Processed out, yeah.
Okay, when you came home, did you encounter any anti-war protesters?
Oh, good Lord. Yes. Yes. Never been spit on so much in my life, cussed out, called all kinds of crap.
Where was this at?
Orlando Airport, even in Philly, same thing. Just, people are just plain nasty. And then you had all these Jesus lovers with all these books they want to give you, hand out to you, and all of that. Anyway, it wasn't a pretty sight. And what made it really bad is as soon as you got home, you just wanted to get out of your military stuff, anything you had on the military. So nobody could say, hey, he's, you know,
Yeah.
it happened, it was terrible.
Okay, so totally you were in the Army probably what, about 16 months maybe?
18.
18? Okay, so
18 months.
you got a 6-month drop then, right?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
18 months.
So what did you do after service?
Went back to work,
What were you doing?
working in a flower shop.
Okay.
I'm still working in a flower shop.
Okay. That's good. Artillery prepared you well for a florist. Okay.
Yeah, I was working in a flower shop before I went, before they drafted me,
Okay.
just like him. I just like always have.
That's great. Yes, I know. Well, I appreciate your interview and thank you for the time, and it was a very interesting story. Thank you.
All right.
Now I got it.